Boer song is concerned. But as my colleague Tulas was saying earlier, this isn't necessarily translating into South Africans automatically feeling the same way. And I think that in order to move the conversation forward, right, now that we know what the Constitutional Court has said, now that it has effectively settled the debate, at least from a legal point of view, I think as we give our reflections and our thoughts this morning, perhaps what we can try and lean into is around our country as things are in the present moment and in the future. So what is the South Africa that we want? And perhaps the question we must be asking ourselves is, how does the singing of the song contribute to the South Africa that we want? Does it help us in building what we say is a diverse and unified society? Or does it fracture it? Because ultimately, how we are going to relate to and internalize the messaging of the song on a day-to-day basis is how we feel it sits in our overall national discourse and how we believe it either aids what we're building or takes away from what we are building. And perhaps, I think in framing it that way, it might lead us to looking at other issues within our society that aren't just about whether or not singing the song is right or wrong. The courts have clearly said it is right, but the fact that it conjures up so many emotions, it is such a national debate. Let's think about, well, what do we actually do when we sing the song? And is the result, right, is the outcome that is often conjured up, does it help us build a better South Africa or not? And perhaps somewhere in between there is an answer and a guiding light. And I know I've thrown a few things in there, but you can pick up on whatever you feel makes sense to you, and we can have that as part of our conversation this morning. So of course I'll be taking your calls on the open line. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032. I'm looking forward to having the conversation with you and being in conversation with you on the WhatsApp voice note line. Send your WhatsApp voice notes through on 0614 104 107. That's 0614 104 107. Coming up in the second hour of the show today, we're going to be zooming in on the National Feeding Scheme program, but in particular, corruption that has been happening when it comes to the administration of this particular program. You would have seen headlines just last year where an initiative to issue a contract, and it was a big national contract on this on the National Feeding Nutrition program that had to be put on hold because there were questions about the process. Unfortunately, there has been corruption that has bedeviled the implementation of the school nutrition program in some parts of the country. So in the second hour of the show, we're going to be taking a closer look at that, because really, I mean, this is literally taking food out of children's mouths. And sometimes you just have to, just say, but really, is this really what is happening in our country? So that's the conversation we'll have. And in the final hour of the show, it is the Friday wind down. We're going to be wrapping things up with a special guest, and let me not make you think about who we're going to have on.
Hi, what's up, my beautiful gems? It's your girl, Gemma Fassi, and I will be hanging out with Cathy Mohlahlana at 11 this Friday, 28th of March. We will also be celebrating my journey in the music industry, my new EP Island 22, and play some of my music and catch up. Tune in SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Anytime you call me, baby, I'll be well on my way. If you need love from me, yeah, my heart is where you stay. My heart has enough space. I'll always make a place, but I need you to tell me what you see when you look at me. Boy, how it feels to be loved so easy. You and I mean an hour. You and I. What you see when you look at me. Boy, how it feels.
So that's just a taste of the menu coming up between now and midday. Looking forward to hosting the conversation with you, and hopefully you'll stay with us for the ride. We'll take a quick break. After that, I'm back with your calls. It is your National Roundtable. Remember, you're more than welcome to raise any matter of national importance. So please be part of the conversation.
This Human Rights Month, SAFM is deepening a culture of social justice and human rights. It's a time to reflect, engage, and take action for a more just society. From thought-provoking discussions to powerful stories, SAFM is leading the conversations that move us. Because your voice matters, your rights matter, and together we shape a better future. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Masandawana have a master plan to win in their own backyard, to ease off the pressure before the trip to the north. But the Beast of Africa want to demonstrate why they are also called the Smiling One. This is the first leg quarterfinal battle of the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Do not miss out on the delight of African football. Mamelodi Sundowns versus Esperance de Tunis on Tuesday, 1 April at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Mzansi, the Powerball jackpot storm guaranteed at 81 million rand this Friday is your chance to make it rain lots of cash this March. Don't delay. Play Powerball for the guaranteed 81 million rand jackpot today and you could win big. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old to play responsibly. eTuba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
SASSA Gold Card beneficiaries can still come and collect their new Postbank Black Card. Avoid the risk of not receiving your grant. Join over 1.3 million beneficiaries that are already conveniently receiving their grant using the Postbank Black Card. There are multiple selected outlets nationwide where you can swap your SASSA Gold Card for the new Postbank Black Card. Dial star 120 star 355 hash. That's star 120 star 355 hash to find one near you. Standard rates apply. Postbank, your bank.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
While we continue with the conversation on the open line, I'm going to start it off in Durban this morning. Dave Boardman, you're on the line. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good speaking to you.
Dave, I understand you're a first-time caller.
Yes, I am.
Welcome to the show. Great to have you join the conversation.
Yeah, no worries. My choice of music is anything old school rock and roll pre-1980. No one plays that, so I listen to people complain.
That's a good one, actually, Dave. All right, so what's gotten under your skin enough for you to pick up the phone this morning?
Well, everyone is yabbering on about America, and we really are trying to annoy them. And people say they're our second biggest trading partner, and I would tend to disagree with that. Ford have just opened a plant. In South Africa making motor cars. Do we want to trade with a country that takes dental products in the US? A vast number of the dental products are made in South Africa and shipped there. You understand the difference? Made in. So we want to trade with China, who have just destroyed the Kafue River. I don't know if you know about that, but one of their mines just destroyed the Kafue River in Zambia. Do we want to trade with a company who says we want to employ the cheapest labor possible, dig stuff out of the ground, and ship it to China so they can send us back rubbish goods? Or do we want to trade with a country that says we're going to employ people, give them better jobs, and buy their goods? I guess I just don't understand the logic in that, and that really bothers me.
It's a question around morality and the extent to which morality and perhaps ethics influences business and business decisions.
Yes, I agree with that. And if you've spent any time in China, you will know exactly where their morals lie. And trust me, they're a lot worse than.
Dave, is it not difficult to take a purist stance or lens on this issue? Because the reality is, when it comes to issues of ethics and morality in terms of how individual states behave, you're going to find questions between the U.S. and China.
Exactly.
So neither of those two countries will be completely excluded from not having cases that raise the same questions that you're raising this morning.
Exactly. Now, do you choose the one with the least or the most? And that's my point. Or are you choosing it basically on past history? Because past history said, yes, the U.S. came in and they raped Africa and they yabba, yabba, yabba. China's taking over from where they left off and just doing a better job. They're just bribing the right politicians. So when you look at Zambia, for instance, all the mines are now Chinese-owned and Chinese-run and Chinese-managed. And they're starting to bring in Chinese labor, and the labor laws, and their reason for that is, well, we need people that speak Mandarin.
Yeah.
So from your moral perspective is right. Yes, America's not. Trust me, every country in the world has got problems. Look at France, for instance. Why does France want to keep Niger and those countries? Simply because it's the cheapest uranium on the planet. So I agree with the governments there saying, no, we're going to mine our own uranium. So I agree with that. And I think every country should take the stance of what America's done, our country first.
Okay. All right, Dave.
And does saying, well, we're going to keep people in the mines, in the ground, in low-paying jobs, and then import cheap shoes. Is that putting your country first? Or rather, do you say, I'd rather give them better jobs?
Okay. Dave, I'm going to leave it there with you for this morning. Dave Boardman out in Durban. I guess it's really starting us off on a debate around realism versus idealism, right? Which particular view do you tend to take of the world? The realists, of course, are pragmatic, right? They accept things as they are. And if you're an idealist, then of course you're optimistic and focused on what could potentially be. So the ideals, the values, the vision for a better world, those would be what drives that particular view. But if you're a realist and you know that countries act in their interests, they're not asking around those trade deals necessarily all the time how many people did not get fair labor, wages, fair working hours, fair working conditions in the making of products, then this is exactly what you're going to get. Of course, it's not always black and white. I mean, there have been some very significant sort of boycott campaigns planned and undertaken in South Africa. I haven't seen any in recent years, though. And I don't know if it's because we've become an overly consuming society, so the consumer culture is very much part of what also drives us as a country. So yes, people they don't mind tweeting and talking about how they're concerned about young children farming cocoa, but go and look at the chocolate sales in this country. It's not following through to the courage of conviction to the point where people are now saying, I'm not going to eat chocolate because I now know how it's manufactured and what happens down the line. So we can have that as part of the conversation. Anonymous, you're in Groblersdal. Good morning.
Hi, how do you do, Cathy?
I'm doing well, Anonymous. Go for it.
Good, thanks. Cathy, just a quick one with regards to the song Kill the Boer. Find myself a bit conflicted there, because if you were to take the literal translation of the word Boer, it means farmer. But to put things into context, when the song was written, it had nothing to do with the farmer, but I suppose maybe the idea that would have been led by certain numbers within the farming community who were showing nothing but hatred towards black people. And so when you said that you and Tulas agree on the fact that not all South Africans agree with the term of kill the boer, I disagree simply because I think that it is perhaps maybe the black individuals who would have assimilated into a white society and white economy.
Sorry, Anonymous, just go back. What did you say I said Tulas and I agreed on?
Oh, the fact that it's not all South Africans that agree with the sentiments of the song.
Of kill the boer in what ways though? I think that I think that what I said, if I can speak for myself, is the fact that this is still very much an issue that conjures up different emotions. So while the court may have settled the legal argument, and I'm echoing what Tula said this morning, that the court has settled the legal argument, it doesn't necessarily mean that where society is where the court is.
No. True to the sense, and this is why I'm saying is that perhaps maybe that not all black South Africans would agree with the sentiments of
but why excuse me, why are you reducing it to black South Africans?
No, look, I suppose I'm reducing it to black South Africans because they would be directly affected. However, we do have other races that have shown sympathy to the cause, right? And when I say black South Africans, I mean everybody who was non-white, because this is how we were segregated. And the point that I'm trying to make was simply to say that if we are saying that it's not all South Africans who agree with those sentiments, it would basically be those people who have assimilated very comfortably within the modern economic society that they don't want to be seen sharing those sentiments. Almost as if to say that Bill Cosby was almost showing us what it was to be acceptable black people living in a white economy, because we were not doing it the way that black people would normally do it. However, we were doing it around the construct of a modern economic system, which is
Anonymous,
European.
You are saying that you don't think that a black person would disagree with the decision of the of the Constitutional Court on kill the boer if this individual has not assimilated to a level of whiteness. That's effectively what you're saying.
So the idea would be, and this is why I'm saying, is that the literal sense of kill the boer, of the word boer, is a farmer, but the song in context is not an attack on the farmer per se, but rather the ideology that was perpetrated by a certain number of people within that community.
Yeah, look, I always become apprehensive, Anonymous, of statements that almost seek to think for and speak on behalf of an entire grouping. And one of the challenges that I have with the statement that you're making is that it assumes that those individuals that are giving an opinion do not have any agency, that they are unable to, number one, take in information, process that information, and have an outcome in terms of what that information means for them. And I don't know that that's necessarily right, nor is it fair, because we can't assume that black people, given the same facts, are always going to come to the same conclusion.
Not that we are going to always come to the same conclusion, Cathy, but everybody, and I'm saying literally everybody, from there are certain numbers of people from the white race or the Afrikaner race. I was listening to a gentleman argue the difference between the Boer and the Afrikaner on TikTok now the other day. And I'm saying, though, that the injustices that have been perpetrated against the natives of this country are very plain. And for anybody who has got a correct moral compass knows that it was not correct. So I am speaking to the context of the song to say that even you would find that there is an Afrikaner person who does not believe in the ideology that was perpetrated against black people, in which sense they would share the sentiments of the song. Although they might not openly come out and say it, they might not openly come out and sing, but the idea that there was a song that was designed to actually bring out to the fore the fact that there is an ideology that's hidden in certain numbers and it was creating injustice against black people.
All right, Anonymous, we're going to have to leave it there. I can't engage you any further because we're edging up to the 9:30 news headlines. I don't know if maybe I wasn't completely hearing you clearly, but the historical context, I think that point is moot now, right? The courts have said that it has a historical context, and if it's being repurposed in present-day South Africa, it's really up to the politicians and the audience to interpret the various meanings, connotations that any individual singing it today would want to attach to it. So I think that debate is moot, but it's not, because you're calling about it on the talking point. Let's go to the latest news headlines. We'll continue with your National Roundtable after this.
Good morning. In the headlines, a 41-year-old man accused of involvement in the Zanzu nightclub attack is expected to be back in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning to apply for bail. The investigating officer in the Jocelyn Smith kidnapping and human trafficking case is expected to continue to testify this morning in the Western Cape High Court sitting at Saldanha Bay. And 15 suspected illegal miners are expected to appear in the Pilgrims Rest Court in Mpumalanga today. They were arrested in an informal settlement during the police's Operation Valamgodi operation. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
The sweetest hunt is finally here, but you don't need to search far and wide. Let Dis-Chem's best Easter buys hop straight into your basket. From nostalgic beacon marshmallows to the delicious Lindt Gold Bunny. Whether you're planning an epic egg hunt or just treating yourself, we've got everything you need to sweeten your celebrations. Enjoy better value on our Easter offers, valid until 20 April at Dis-Chem pharmacies. Better health starts here.
Equality, human dignity, freedom of movement and residence, life. Everyone has the right to life. Human Rights Month on SAFM.
And petrol won't get you anywhere nowadays, but Outsurance is dedicated to saving you money on your car insurance. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash and make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get monthly savings on your car insurance or cash in your pocket. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. It is still your open line, the National Roundtable, taking your calls on 086 000 2032, on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Let me go to Nkosinati in Kroonstad. Good morning.
Hello, Cathy. I think the names are mixed up. I'm Tabo from Kroonstad.
All right.
Hello, Cathy.
That's
Tabo.
fine, Tabo. Thanks for that correction. You can go ahead. We'll try and see where Nkosinati is. Apologies for that.
Thank you. Yes, Sis Cathy, what I think the interpretation of the law is 100% right to say, when you see the black farmers standing there, you play this song and then you sing this song to say Jubulib Ipul. It means a farmer. Now, also in our our platform here in the talking point, we must not phrase the Afrikaner. We must say is a white African, is a black African. Now, that is where the confusion comes. Hello, Cathy?
I'm listening to the point that you're making, Tabo. I'm giving you a chance to make it.
Yeah, to say in our platform talking point, we must never again call the name Afrikaner. Afrikaner is an African language, but now in our talking point, we use English language. Always we must have to say white African, not white Afrikaner. Is where the confusion.
No,
is
Tabo,
there,
but I don't understand. I don't understand what you are saying. So we mustn't use the word Afrikaner. Why? As far as I know, it is not a derogatory word. Those that have gone to the U.S. to seek support have done so on the basis that white Afrikaner farmers are under siege. So I don't understand why you're saying that word mustn't be used.
Because now the idea of actuality is to say, when you say Tublipumu is Afrikaner, but it's African, white African, not African. When we say Afrikaner, it's Africans. When we say African, English is where the confusion is there. The Constitutional Court is right to say it's not hate speech when you see a lot of black people standing there doing farming. You say you must kill, you must shoot them. It's not hate speech. That is why I agree with 100% with the Constitutional Court to say now the dual eventuality of the white people is saying they think it's only the white people who can do farming. It's not the white people.
Okay, Tabo, yes. I'm going to have to let you go. I will admit I didn't fully catch on to everything that you were saying, but maybe somebody else who's listening understood better the point you were trying to make than I do right now, and that will come out as we continue with the open line.
Appointing. It shows his cowardice that he doesn't even want to identify himself, yet he's making general statements. He doesn't represent me as a black person about how I feel what the court has said. Like you're saying, he shouldn't make himself a spokesperson for every black person, because it's not all of us who agree with that ruling. And it doesn't mean we have been captured or anything like that, or we've been whitewashed, whatever he wants to call it. But he must be brave and identify himself. Don't be a coward. Come onto the platform, criticize and not want to identify yourself. It's sheer cowardice from me. Debbie, thanks.
Good morning, Cathy. The chant kill the boer, kill the farmer does not threaten national stability and unity. Remember, it got significance through Peter Mokaba in the 90s. It has never threatened the national stability and unity of South Africa. I don't see how now there's this hysteria that it threatens stability and unity of South Africa because Julius Malema has gave it a significance. It doesn't. It's against the white supremacist power structures. It's a rallying cry.
Morning, Cassie. Morning, SFM. I just feel it's a bit insulting that people think that we are going to act out the lyrics of a song. It's ridiculous. I'm glad for the outcome at the courts. I think it's by time that instead of being afraid of the song, white people should go and find out why the song was created. And instead of worrying about the lyrics of a song, maybe to assist in redress, which are demanding from us now, as black people, share the land. Give back partial land. Don't wait for government to expropriate. Give back the land because it's the right thing to do. Spend your privilege. G-Man Cape Town.
#SAFM Talking Point.
All right. Well, thank you for those reflections coming through on the WhatsApp line. Bongani, you're calling from Johannesburg. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Cathy. Cathy, whilst you were this morning reflecting on the court judgment yesterday, you asked a question and you said, should we stop singing the song? I would say no. The reason is, we have given in as black South Africans from 1994 to try and reconcile the country, to try and build one diverse nation, whether black or white, where we are going to be defined as South Africans, not black South Africans or white South Africans. But if we still have organizations like your AfriForum and Solidarity that are protecting only the African people, the minority in South Africa, not protecting South African per se, but protecting a certain group, then why should we expect it then? Because we want to kill that system or a system that protects a certain group, and we want to have a system that is going to be diverse and include everyone. If we say we are South Africans, let's be South African, black and white, not define ourselves as white farmers or black farmers or whatever.
Look, Bongani, I think how I framed it is slightly different to what you are saying, because the specific question I asked is, we need to think about what is the South Africa that we want, that we're building towards today, and that we would want to build towards in the future. And how does the singing of the song contribute to that? That's and I deliberately framed it that way because it might give us a different take on the debate that is happening currently. Because again, if we go back to what the courts have said, the legal debate has settled whether or not it is hate speech. So what we're clear on is that it's not hate speech as defined, legally. But the reality is, it doesn't mean that there isn't a particular emotional, political, emotions that it stirs up in people. And my question is, well, what are those things that it stirs up in people? And do those things help to move us forward as a society, or do they hold us back?
Yeah, Cathy, maybe to answer just two of your questions, maybe I would also ask a question and answer it at the same time. What kind of South Africa did we want from 1994 when there were negotiations and then we had a democratically elected government? We wanted a diverse society. We wanted to build a South Africa that is one. We wanted to build South Africa that everyone is going to live in harmony. And we wanted to build a South Africa where every nationality has an opportunity of business in South Africa. And they have opportunity also to acquire land and become farmers if they want, or whatever businesses that they want to do. But with since that time till now, we haven't achieved that. Why? Then we should ask a question. Why haven't we achieved that? If we as black South Africans agreed to all to a peaceful takeover of South Africa and build South Africa together. And why are we in this position now? It is because of those minorities who don't want to come on board. That is the problem. So now, if you ask the question that says, where do we want to go? I will tell you as a black person, not speaking for other people, I will tell you that we want to build a better South Africa for everyone. We want a diverse country. We don't want a country where the minorities, they still think they are superior to others. We don't want that, Cathy. You see, so that I think that would answer your question.
So Bongani, are you saying that the relevance of the song in South Africa today is because, in your view, in as far as the power relations in our society are concerned, not much has changed from what it was under apartheid, and that's what makes the song still relevant?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
All right, okay. Yes. Bongani, thanks for that view out in Johannesburg. Dumzi, you are in Cape Town. Good morning. Good morning, Dumzi.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
You're live on the radio now.
Thank you for taking my call. On the question of what kind of a society we envisage or we want, there is a saying which goes, any society built on unjust foundations will turn out as an unjust society. So this song, which was being sung then, was a struggle song for liberation. And now you have to defend your liberation in the same way you fought for it, even after you have gotten it. Your freedom, you fight for freedom, and you have to defend it with the same tenacity that you fought for it. So back in the day when the song was being sung, it was not necessarily literally to kill every Boer that you see. It was a symbol, a struggle song against a system. And now it remains a symbol of our struggle against the very same system, which we have not yet attained full liberation from, because we are still under the same yoke of, let me call it bondage, of the same system which we were fighting against, although we are now self-governing, but the system is still in place. Now, the legal aspect is, there is no question about that. The same way there is that statue in front of Parliament which represents the history. It can be seen as hate speech to us Africans, because that is a symbol of our own oppression. So now when we sing the song of our liberation, it shouldn't be a question, because they are keeping the symbols, and we are also want to keep our symbols, because we have not yet attained. Also, even if we had attained, we need to defend with the same tenacity.
Dumzi, thank you so much for your call. I think you've really articulated your point very clearly on the talking point this morning. He says it remains because all of the ideals, or at least significant part of them, that were being fought for have not yet been realized. And for those that have, they still need defending. And is that perhaps not the conversation that we should be having, right? That why a song like that would still find relevance and resonance in South Africa today, beyond just the fact that it is a song that symbolizes our struggle. Because people feel very strongly about it. And if we get to unpacking the why, perhaps it's also going to help us understand part of why our society still remains divided in certain aspects. We're going to take a quick break, and then I'm back with your calls.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Abafana besithende want to ensure that Amakhosi walk off the pitch empty-handed, but the Gold and Black boys from Naturena are chasing 3 points to cement their spot in the top half.
Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Mzansi's beautiful game.
Golden Arrows versus Kaizer Chiefs this Saturday, 29 March at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons, right here on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, with me, KG Mwekezi.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. Still taking your calls on 086 000 2032, on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Magwaiha, you're calling us from Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning, KB, and good morning to SAFM listeners. Kathy, firstly, man, I want to know, man. There is a ubhuti othanda ufona use East London. I think his name is it Ngonde or Ngonde? Are you still there, Kathy?
You see, if you're catching me out on pronunciations, it's a trap I'm not going to walk into. So
Okay.
I'm going to say that that's a rhetorical question and give you an opportunity to make your point.
Okay, Kathy. Kathy, okay. You know, Kathy, I really feel painfully, really. Abantu banoza national radio like SAFM station and talk lies. You know, I hear people saying Cape Town is better than every province. As I'm living here in Cape Town, Cape Town is it too. We've got a Cape Town of white people. We've got a Cape Town of colored and black people. Why I'm saying that, just from Cape Town, start to drive in Langa, the first township, in Langa. Don't drive on N2 and see Langa. Drive inside Langa. You will see what I'm talking about. People are living like pigs. DA don't care about the blacks and the coloreds. They just care when they need the votes. Secondly, I will make an example. Kukwesitishi sase-Kuyasa station. There in Kuyasa station, there is also SASA offices. From Tuesday, isurage is ahamba phana ngoku. Although people they are queuing there in SASA office, the sewage is in front of them from Tuesday until now. It's still popping up. You think it's a better place? But if, as I'm a courier driver, I'm driving all around Constantia, you just find one day a drain is blocked. The second day that drain is clean. There is nothing. But they say the GAs care about the poor. That's a lie. If I can send all those where we stay as the blacks people, the rubbish we stay just in front, even in front of your house, there is a whole of rubbish. All those, what we are breathing is coming from that rubbish. And then the people come and say the GAs care about the poor of the people. And lastly,
Magwera,
yes.
I just want to ask you, right, when you look at the profiling of Langa, of Khayelitsha as informal settlements, of course, the Western Cape has its own nuances, right, where you bring in the violence, gang violence, even sometimes that infiltrates particular communities there. But speaking just more broadly, I mean, is there a differentiator in as far as the black communities in informal settlements and in townships? Are the people there any worse off than a township and informal settlement elsewhere in the country?
No, not really. Not at all.
And I think I'm asking that question to say that for me, we have governments, whether they are coalition governments, whether it is one party sort of in power in different metropolitan areas and in different municipalities, that do not put the interests of marginalized communities at the heart of their decision making, including even when it comes to budgeting, which is when it matters the most. So I don't know that it's fair to say that it is a DA thing everywhere in this country. But the reality is that if you are rich enough to buy yourself and to pay your way out of community like that, i.e., move to a suburb, move into an estate where you are guaranteed better services because of your economic profile more than your race, then your experience is going to be a lot different.
I agree, Cathy, and then as I'm saying, I don't hold any membership of any party or any political party. But what I'm saying, I'm trying to say, it's like the DA, as I think they are in front in Western Cape. But my problem is when they come to a national radio or whether they get a platform, they care of the poor people, of which even me, I'm not staying in informal settlement. I'm saying, okay, where at least the life is just better. As you say, it's just better. But to say the DA is care about the poor of the poorest, you can just go on all from Lang until to Kailicha. You will see the people. We will see the people. And lastly, Katie, I just want to say to warn people. We mustn't follow the individual when we are in a DA or ANC, because like for instance, this guy of ANC is go to DA.
Yeah.
Those guys, they are looking for work, Katie. Thank you.
Literally, I mean, it was just laughable how all of it happened. And the ANC has now come out to say, well, good riddance. He wasn't useful anyway. Politics for you. Peter, you're in Dobsonville.
Good morning, Kathy.
Yes, sir. Go for it.
Okay. Kathy, man, I've got a big problem here, man. I'm just about to lose my family house. I went to the Masters of the High Court. They eventually gave me the letter of executorship for the late estate. When I went to transfer the house into my names, all of a sudden, the house is transferred to another person. All of a sudden, there's a will attached to that. And when they gave me the letter of executorship, there was no will, there was nothing in the records. When I went back to them again from the deeds office, back to the Masters of the High Court, still they don't have a record of that will, but the house is already transferred to another person's names. And here I'm having a big problem, and they tell me the only way to change that is when I go to the High Court. And when I compare myself to the High Court, I think that is an elephant and just a mosquito. To knock in the door of the High Court is a problem on its own. I don't know how to knock in that door because even the will, just to cut things short, there's a lot of discrepancies on the will as well when I check it. I don't think I'm a legal person as such, but there's a lot because the signatures of 1998, they overlap on the stamp of the Masters of the High Court of 2019, which to me doesn't make sense at all, you know what I mean? So that's my problem, Cathy.
Okay, Peter, I'm going to have to send you back to the producer so that they can take your details down, and we can understand what has happened and try to get to the bottom of it. From what you're detailing, it certainly sounds like there's been some nefarious activities taking place, but we can't fully make that assertion before we understand the details. Anonymous, you're in Bloom. Good morning.
Morning, Sis Cathy. Thank you for allowing me the platform. I just want to take this opportunity to really complain about how distraught I am, about how inaccessible you have made postgrad education. There is nothing that I haven't done to try and get funding for myself. I've applied from last year, September. I have good grades. I submitted everything on time. I'm one of 5 honest students in class, and I'm currently facing it's so long. And I feel like this entire education system is trying to break me. But I've been a good student. So I'm appealing to any sponsors or any available persons to help me, because I want to go into diplomacy and I need a postgraduate qualification.
Oh, Anonymous, I'm so sorry. I'm going to just give you a few seconds just to try and catch your breath there. Let me know, which institution are you studying at?
I'm studying at the University of the Free State.
And how old are you?
I'm 21.
All right, so you've basically done your degree in record time. And you are now enrolled for your master's. What did you study?
No, I'm not enrolled for master's. I'm enrolled
for honors. Yes, apologies, for honors. What did you study?
I'm doing social sciences with the specialization in international relations.
Who have you been applying to for the funding of your higher education?
So I applied to ISAP, IGUSASA Student Financial Aid Program. I applied to an IRF. I applied to the South Deep Education Treasury Bursary. I've applied. I went to financial aid on campus to even try to apply for loans. But unfortunately, I do not qualify because I need someone employed to co-sign for me, and my mom is unemployed.
Anonymous, it sounds like it's been such a battle. How do you feel about everything that has been happening?
Like I said, I feel like our education system is trying to break me. I've done everything by the book. I've been a good student. I submitted every application on time. There's nothing I haven't done. I'm so distraught. This is my last resort to try and find sponsors because I don't know what to do at this point.
Okay. So, all right, Anonymous, we're going to take your details down. And I think part of why Anonymous call is so important is the fact that you have so many young people who find themselves in the same position that she does. I know that the International Relations Department in particular used to fund students, at least that had a pipeline into their sphere of work, and they used to run the cadet program that those coming out of high school would also be able to be part of. So let's see if we can't get you in touch with them, Anonymous, especially because that's the route that you want to go with. I really, really feel for you. But I know that there are also so many others in your position. All right, let's go to the latest news update.
In our top stories, Zanzu nightclub assault suspect to apply for bail, and 15 suspected illegal miners to appear in court. Good morning. A 41-year-old man accused of involvement in the Zanzu nightclub attack is expected back in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning to apply for bail. The man, who's a Congolese national, was arrested last month. This after a video showing him and 7 other men sexually assaulting and beating customers went viral on social media. The accused is facing 6 charges of assault and 8 of sexual assault. Earlier this month, the case was postponed to allow for an identity parade. The investigating officer in the Jocelyn Smith kidnapping and human trafficking case is expected to continue to testify this morning in the Western Cape High Court sitting at Saldanha Bay. Captain Wesley Lombard has been testifying for the state in the case in which Kelly Smith, Jacqueline Butapoulos and Stevino van Rijn are on trial. Lombard told the court that they struggled to earn the necessary community trust to get assistance in the investigation following negative publicity on social media. Lombard said that people followed police and made live videos, making it difficult for officers to search for the girl.
Baie van die gemeenskaplike lede wat so daai dag so gepraat het, people in comment met a lot, het nie besef die gevare wat hulle vir Jocelyn kon inplaas. They did not realize dangers they could put on Jocelyn in. Vanaf daardie stadium van die ondersoek, because at that stage of the investigation, was daar geen bewys dat Jocelyn wel dood is nie. There was no evidence stating that Jocelyn or showing that Jocelyn was dead. Die focus was om vir Jocelyn te kry lewendig en is nog steeds. Focus was to get Jocelyn alive.
15 suspected illegal miners are expected to appear in the Pilgrim's Rest Magistrates Court in Mpumalanga today. They were arrested in an informal settlement in Pilgrim's Rest during the police's Valumgodi operation. The suspects are aged between 18 and 45 and do not have any valid South African documents. They were found in possession of illegal mining equipment, including gas cylinders and motors. Rhodes University in the Eastern Cape has conferred an honorary degree on the widow of Black Consciousness Movement leader Steve Biko. The university has recognized Nontsikelelo Biko for her contribution to community development. The university's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Sizwe Mabizela.
She has gone about it in a very quiet and dignified way, never once seeking limelight and recognition, but understanding the importance of ensuring that the poor and the marginalized are looked after.
And finally, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is due to visit Greenland amid controversy over President Donald Trump's repeated announcements that he would like to annex it. Greenland's strategic location and resources could benefit the U.S. It lies along the shortest route from Europe to North America, vital for the U.S. ballistic missile warning system. The BBC's Andrew Harding has the details.
The American delegation is visiting a small U.S. military base high above the Arctic Circle in the far northwest corner of this giant ice-covered island. In the context of President Trump's extraordinary comments about wanting to annex Greenland, the visit is certainly significant. But in the past few days, the White House has cut back the program. The Vice President's wife, Usha Vance, had been due to tour and attend cultural events here in Nuuk and elsewhere. But Greenlanders made it clear that neither she nor any of President Trump's senior officials would be welcome. Protests were planned.
Recapping the top story, a 41-year-old man accused of involvement in the Zanzu nightclub attack is expected back in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning to apply for bail. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Something big is coming. 6:30 will never be the same. Amalanga Wafani, only on SABC 1.
Mzansi, the Powerball jackpot storm guaranteed at 81 million rand this Friday is your chance to make it rain lots of cash this March. Don't delay. Play Powerball for the guaranteed 81 million rand jackpot today and you could win big. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
every person, no matter who you are, what music you're inclined to listen to, and what you do with your weekends. You need a weekend playlist. It's that musical mix of music that accompanies the lazy weekends, whether catching up with friends and family or just taking some time to reflect. Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 on SAFM.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Nine after 10 o'clock. Welcome to the second hour of The Talking Point. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be taking a look at corruption in as far as the school feeding program is concerned, or should I rather say the National School Nutrition Program. We all know the value of this program and why it was instituted in the first place. In fact, the findings of the impact of this particular program are largely positive, because it has been proven that the reach of the program has been wide. 9 million youngsters benefit from this program. For many of them, the meals that they receive at school are the only meals that they will have. So it is absolutely significant. But there are then also issues that need to be dealt with, in particular corruption, which seems to have been marring different aspects of this project. So we'll take a look at that within this hour. Before we do, a look at your WhatsApp voice notes.
Hi, Cathy. It's Megan here from Cape Town. I'm finding it so interesting listening to this discussion about kill the farmer, kill the boer. I can't believe we're still having the discussion. One of the interesting things that I find about the conversation is something that you said in terms of what the song triggers and how it makes people feel. And I just think it's time to not center white feelings in this discussion. Really, the song is an expression of frustration, of the lack of transformation, the lack of reparations, the lack of land restitution, all of that stuff. The song is an expression of that. And it's my personal feeling is that it's time to stop centering white feelings.
Jola here, Rebecca. I just want to say I'm also supportive of the Constitutional Court's judgment in favor of not declaring the Kill the Farmer, Kill the Boer song as hate speech, because it actually isn't. There's a lot of talk in South Africa that actually resonates with past experiences. Look at how we, for instance, address our employers as our Mlungu Wam, which has absolutely nothing to do with the race of the person. It's something we just cannot escape from. That's just my brief take on the matter. Thank you.
Morning, Cathy Mama here. For me, the chant "Kill the Boer" by Malema is just attention seeking. If we want to empower black people, we have to be strategic. This by no means make any grounds in trying to empower financially us blacks. We'll still be spectators. We just sound bitter. We're not killing them, so why chant it? So we just need to get down to work and empower our people, that's all.
Morning, Cathy. Cathy, mine is for today is just addressing this issue of acting leaders, ANC leaders. They acting as if they're not aware of the water crisis in this country. We've been having a water crisis for 30 years. Now they're saying that they have timelines all of a sudden. And I would have realized that the contractors which have tenders with municipalities, they're manipulating system by destroying the water pipes, by closing the valve so as to get tenders. Why they don't come up with an easier solution? Buy trucks. in all the municipalities, hire drivers for the trucks with the same money that you're paying for tenders. The problem will be solved. Nobody will be destroying pulp, nobody will be closing valve, and it will be cheaper because I had.
Good morning, Cathy. Regarding the Concord judgment on the Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer song, to those people who are opposing it, is why must it be us black people who are not preserving our own history? We drive around roads named after war criminals like Jan van Riebeeck, Piet Botha, de Klerk, and. But that, to us, is not supposed to strike any feeling of reminiscence about apartheid. But we should do away with everything that reminds us of where we come from, and that agitates us to fight more in terms of getting total liberation. Isn't that double standards? Thank you. Maya in Johannesburg.
Are you a member of a Stockfell or Burial Society? Catch Gezaka on SABC2 on Wednesdays at 12:30 midday and at 10:30 at night, and again on Saturdays at 12:30 midday. The repeat is on SABC1 on Fridays at 4:30. Gezaka team will be at Newgate Mall opposite Bree Taxi Rank from the 6th to the 31st of March from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. to assist your Stockfell or Burial Society. Call or WhatsApp on 081-596-1065. The Facebook profile is Gezaka Stockfell and Burial Society show. Gezaka, brought to you in partnership with SABC Education.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
We continue the conversation right here on the Talking Point, and we're getting into our 10 o'clock conversation this morning, which is looking at corruption within the National School Nutrition Program. This is a program that is rolled out nationally. The intervention is to ensure that kids from impoverished communities, largely in your low quintile schools, so that would be your quintile 1, 2, and I think 3 would qualify for the school nutrition program. And this is where they're provided with a meal, or in some instances with 2 meals while they are at school. Now, this particular project has been marred by some corruption, mismanagement, and neglect. We know the importance of feeding young children, especially if they're there to be able to learn properly. So what is being done in as far as the corruption that has been spoken about and identified in the supply chain when it comes to the National School Nutrition Program? Sfiso Nkala is a researcher at Section 27. He joins us on the line. Sfiso, good morning.
Good morning, and also good morning to the listeners.
Neo Siditi is the director for the National School Nutrition Program at the Department of Basic Education. Neo, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to all listeners.
And Lisa Sukdev is a spokesperson for Umno Towetu Trading Enterprise, and they are the applicants, particularly in the Gauteng Nutrition Program matter. Lisa, good morning to you.
Good morning, Katie, and good morning to our panelists and listeners.
I think the first place to begin is to maybe try and set a context for when we speak about corruption within the National School Nutrition Program. How widespread is it? I know that the likes of Corruption Watch have been reporting on multiple cases associated and reflected within the program from as early as 2013, where you see people getting very creative with how exactly they're taking the resources which are meant to benefit children in school and using them elsewhere, either for their own personal use or to derive an income from it, so reselling some of those goods. But perhaps, Sfiso, for you as Section 27, where would you say some of the biggest issues that you have identified within this particular program are?
Thank you so much. Actually, this problem is too deep. It's very deep that one day I was visited by one of the school principals, and he said, "Wow, I am so surprised that you know this guy." And I asked how, and he asked me, how do I know him? I said, no, I know him from long back, and he's active in politics. So what happened, he told me that this guy had received about 1.5 million to provide school nutrition in their schools, in her school. So the precondition for this guy to receive this 1.5 million was that he needs to provide support for a certain political party's youth wing. If that political party is having any program, this guy needs to be able to provide support, financial support, And this is how I'm saying how deep the problem is regarding the corruption. And after that, I requested this guy. Actually, I reported with the director, which was Mark Haywood at the time, and he advised me that the whistleblower must write an anonymous and an affidavit in anonymity, But the complaint, or rather the whistleblower, was so scared to write it because she knew that she was part of the panel and she had deep information regarding such. And that's how deep this is, and it involves politicians at the high level, and the district, province too. So it is well known, but they keep, trying to hide it, and corruption is deep in this country.
So Sfiso, if I'm hearing you clearly, you're saying that when we're looking at the corruption in this particular project and where it manifests itself, it's from the top right through to the bottom. It begins with who gets to be appointed as service providers and what it is that they have to put on the table for that. But then it filters down to when the program is operating in schools, the suppliers maybe have dropped off the food for the kids. Then you still have some principals, educators who are not making sure that food, or at least all of it, goes to learners, and they're finding ways to get it out of the system.
Exactly. The problem starts from the top. And I'm sure even the president knows about what I'm talking of, because it is, it's a very structured it's a very structured corruption, the way it is. It comes from the top. They decide in advance that who's going to be receiving this, because they advise this guy that if you want to get this tender, you must ensure that articulated that you're gonna be supporting this party.
Who is the Sfiso? Because also one of the things that will be great for us to look at is the procurement processes, right? When the service providers are appointed. I don't know if it's not centralized nationally, is it?
It's not centralized nationally. It's not centralized. So the one that was a whistleblower was part of those that were awarding the therapy as the principal. This person was from within the school. So that's why he was so surprised that I know the guy, but I know the guy from long back, but he was so much, or he is still very much active in politics. And this issue hits hard at children, because you find that the food that needs to be supplied to children, they have to compromise it in order to recover what they've lost,
Okay.
Because it's like a 10% back, something like that. As I said before, that if there's a program within a certain structure, you need to provide support. That's how it is, and that is why we've got so much problems.
All right, Sfiso, thanks for that. Lisa, let me give you a chance to come in.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. Just one correction. In addition to Notowetu Trading Enterprise. I'm also a spokesperson for GTL Foods, Akile Consulting, Saluko Holdings, and KLM Foods. I really want to be able to give you a proper example in relation
Lisa,
to this question.
Lisa, just before you go on, so all of those entities that you have mentioned, have they been implementation partners for the school feeding program?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
And so Umnowetu is the one that has brought the application, and then you've got subsequently other parties that have now joined the application.
Sure, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So the Gauteng Department of Education has repeatedly demonstrated their blatant disregard for law and fairness in the tender process, okay? And we are taking legal action because department officials act with absolute impunity, ignoring the due process and ethical governance. And this pattern of corruption and negligence has gone on for far too long, and it needs to be stopped. Now, I want to give you an example. We have seen contracts awarded to companies that do not comply with basic eligibility requirements. And the example is we've got Dipslu Chicken and Nyama, who were deregistered on the CIPC as of the 5th of February 2025, with their deregistration process initiated back in December 2024. Now, despite this, the department awarded them contracts without conducting even the most basic due diligence. This negligence, intentional misconduct, highlights deep-rooted corruption that plagues this department. And the reality is, this issue is not just about business. It's a matter of principle, morality, and legality. Children's well-being and futures are being compromised by corrupt officials who act with impunity and we as an organization will not remain silent. This reckless behavior must be brought to an end. And the example that I've given you, particular to this tender, is only one. If we had a lot of time, I could literally give you more than 10 examples.
Lisa, let's perhaps speak a bit more broadly in terms of the experiences of your clients. So how is the process often run for those who are bidding to be able to be suppliers?
So the bidding process, the first thing you've got to do is be compliant, right? You've got to have all your documents in order. With the food nutrition program, they also ask for a number of criteria that is very, very expensive. And you've got bidders going and getting warehouses that are a minimum of 1,000 meters. They require that you have certain vehicles. They require that you have certain sprinkler systems, safety systems, everything else in place, right? Which is really, really expensive. But they then go and award these tenders to companies that don't even have their simple compliance in order. And it completely baffles me how they can do this. And the result of that is the end user, which is the child, right, is the one that loses the most. Because if you look at the supply chain cycle as well, because each of these service providers are supplying perishable and non-perishable goods. When the supply chain is broken, you don't know what the quality of what is being delivered is. So if the government had to do what they are actually employed to do, which is vet the bidders, ensure the due process is followed, and do this in a transparency and the ability to do what is required will be done. But
Lisa, how do you get to know whether certain companies have or have not been compliant?
So at the end of a bid process, right? So we are then given the names of the companies that have tendered. Then we are advised about who was disqualified, and then it is published about who the tender has been awarded to. So looking at the awardees, right? So I gave you one example of one company where they deregistered.
So I'm asking you, how do you do that assessment? The process, in as far as there's a list that goes out to say this is how the process went. In some instances, they even give you the scoring of the different companies, right? But what do you use to say unequivocally that there are companies that are non-compliant that are then awarded contracts? How do you get to find that out? Where do you get that information from?
So that information, we've obviously had to do due diligence, because we needed to understand why. And the reason that we needed to understand why, one of the companies that bidded, that had been awarded a contract, that has been supplying since June last year, okay, was then subsequently disqualified from the tender. And a copy of the bid submission documents. And when the department is asked why was the company disqualified, they alleged that the submission did not include a COIDA certificate. However, we possess copies of the bid documents that clearly include the certificate. So the department lied and manipulated the process to exclude qualified, legitimate bidders in favor of their preferred non-compliant ones. And if basic due diligence is done, and I'm talking about absolute basic, if you had to do a CIPC search, if you had to check on CSD, even a normal layman can do this, and you'll be able to establish so easily the absolute corruption. It's plain and simple. Department officials are cherry-picking bidders to serve their own personal gain.
Okay.
And they do so with total impunity.
All right, Lisa, I'm going to ask you to pause it there. So, of course, Ms. Neo Sediti, who is the director for the National School Nutrition Program at the Department of Basic Education, is listening in on this conversation. We're going to give her a chance to weigh in after the latest news headlines.
Good morning. In the headlines, government says it's introducing a new license which will allow water entities to outsource the bolstering of water and sanitation services to private contractors. Lobby group AfriForum says that it will push for Afrikaners, farmers and other minority groups to protect themselves within the confines of the law. And a 41-year-old man accused of involvement in the Zanzu nightclub attack is expected back in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning to apply for bail. I'll have details on these and other stories at 11.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 18 rand 15 to the dollar, 23 rand 51 to the pound and 19 rand 59 to the euro. Markets in Asia were mixed at the closing bell, the JSE mainly lower during mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are trading weaker. Gold is trading at $3,073, platinum at $987 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $73.72 a barrel.
It was fast, easy, and he gave me the best quote. My savings is 644 rand. Come join our insurance and save some money.
Nice one, Lebo. Saving 644 Rand a month on your 2019 Mazda CX-3 would also make you so happy you might drop a beat. Outsurance clients know what it feels like to be on the winning side. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Switch and save today. Outsurance is always looking for ways to save you money. They are also committed to settling valid claims fairly and quickly, no hassles.
You know your claim is going to be taken care of and you've got support along the journey.
SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Abafana besithende want to ensure that Amakhosi walk off the pitch empty-handed, but the gold and black boys from Naturena are chasing 3 points to cement their spot in the top half. Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Mzansi's beautiful game. Golden Arrows versus Kaizer Chiefs this Saturday, 29 March at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Also available everywhere for everyone on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
ACE denounces violence against teachers and violations of their dignity and humanity. It therefore calls upon the public, parents and learners to protect and respect teachers' rights because their rights are human rights too. Let us show them appreciation, respect and the support they deserve.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
We continue the conversation on the Talking Point. We're looking at the National School Nutrition Program and in particular The allegations of corruption that have been associated with this program, we've heard from Section 27, as Cathy Mohlahlana, who's detailed some of the work that they've been doing and, the allegations of corruption that they've dealt with. Lisa Sukdev is the spokesperson for Umnotho Wethu Trading Enterprise, CC, and a number of other organizations that have run and have been implementation partners of the school nutrition program. She's raised their concerns. They also have a matter currently in court against the Gauteng Education Department in as far as its procurement processes of this project. Ms. Neo Siditi is the director for the National School Nutrition Program at the Department of Basic Education. So now I deliberately started with our first two guests so that you, of course, would have the opportunity to not only respond to some of the concerns they raise around corruption, but perhaps also clarify for us how the procurement for the school nutrition program works in different parts of the country, and whether there's the same model that is followed everywhere.
Thank you, Cathy, and once again, good morning to all listeners. Yes, Cathy, we have structures in terms of, and governance in terms of how the procurement process works. First of all, let me indicate that the National Department of Basic Education has a key responsibility for policy directives in terms of how programs should pan out in provinces. And then the number two responsibility is oversight. So in terms of implementation and in terms of procurement, the responsibility lies with the provincial education departments. I was actually sitting here and, finding it difficult to actually speak to the specific facts of what the two partners are talking about, because I don't have the benefit of having experienced or having been reported on such matters. But let me explain that in terms of the procurement process, we have two delivery models, and one which is being referred to is the central delivery model or procurement process that is being followed by Gauteng. And in that process, the national department has no role whatsoever at the moment. And this is just in terms of, the structured way in which governance has been provided in terms of the three tiers of government, and that is the national, the provincial, as well as the district. So at this stage, we have no role whatsoever as a national department. But I will say, for example, in my experience, having worked in the provincial education department, but that's many years ago, I will not be able to relate it to current practices, perhaps. That is when the tender bids have been extended to suppliers. Yes, there is a due process, and that due process entails having to have the bid specification in the first place, and then number two, to have the bid evaluation. And during that bid evaluation, there will be due diligence in terms of the shortlisted companies that the bid evaluation committee will then do local inspections of those that have qualified, or rather that have been shortlisted, before they actually get to award a bid. And that due diligence will involve other departments, because you have to make sure that you have food safety issues that are being considered. You have you have all the HACCPs as well as all the health and hygiene. So we engage the Department of Health as well in that panel, so that they can be able to ensure that the appropriate suppliers, or rather the qualifying suppliers, are actually put on the list, or rather they are being awarded. So I will not be able to even dispute or refute whatever it is that Lisa is referring to say that there were suppliers that are non-compliant that were awarded the bids. I think the Department of Gauteng are best in a best position to actually do that.
Sure.
But I just wanted, yes.
Just on that point, Ms. Siditi, yes, you might not be able to respond to some of the particular issues raised by our other guests, but you would broadly be aware of the corruption and the allegations of corruption within the school school nutrition program, no? At a national level?
Generally, if it is not reported to us, and yes, we intervene if it is reported to us. For example, if maybe there is a complaint through our toll-free or our, any reports from school principals, for example, or even SGB members, we would normally intervene in those instances, because then we will escalate it through via our Director General through to the head of the department. And in instances where we feel it is important for us to actually be physically involved, we even intervene and have meetings with those suppliers if there is a need for us to actually make sure that the problem or the incident is being reported to us. But generally, yes, we are aware there is corruption. And these are also some of the things that also come out, in the media. And these are also some things that come out of the audit report. And out of those audit reports, what we normally do is to have an improvement plan with the provincial department, with the school that was perhaps involved in that particular instance. And we would then have to, be vigilant and even intensify our monitoring. Because it is only through our monitoring and our evaluations that we are able to pick up these things. But generally, we would then pick them up through the media or through, whistleblowers and such.
Is it a pattern, what has been described by Sfiso, that there are individuals who are effectively pre-selected to get certain contracts because they are also then feeding into the interests of other players that are not necessarily in the education ecosystem?
The question is it a pattern?
Yes.
I am not aware of that, Cathy. I am not aware of that. But all we know is that the list of suppliers that would have been contracted are the ones that would have gone through due process by the Provincial Education Department, believing that all that has been done in a transparent and in a fair manner.
And what is being alleged here, Ms. Siditi, is the fact that very process is the process that is flawed. And the reality is that we see it in other services, in the provision of other services, right? Especially when it comes to what is happening at provincial and local level, including at national level. So for me, it would be strange that the department would not be aware of this pattern, the alleged pattern of how the selection of individuals who ultimately become implementation partners, how that often plays itself out, at least in the instances where there are allegations of corruption.
Well, we are, as I've indicated earlier, that we are not directly involved in the process. And therefore, we will only get the outcome of that process and not necessarily having been, having been part of it.
And that's fair enough,
exactly
Ms. Siditi.
in terms of the in terms of the concurrent functions, at the moment, the governance is such that it is between the three tiers of government in terms of procurement. Provincial education departments have a prerogative. At the moment, they can do the procurement process in terms of, having concurrent functions. And therefore, unless, there is a system that's going to be redeveloped in terms of making sure that that responsibility comes to the national department, we will not have a win in this instance.
But when you see the reports, such as what has been issued by the likes of Corruption Watch over a number of years, you can pick a year, and you will find a report that speaks to corruption in the Department of Education, and a particular percentage of that being attributed to the National School Nutrition Program. As somebody who is overseeing the running of these projects almost nationally, right? And as far as the program is concerned, and are the provinces implementing according to what the Constitution has set out and what you as a department nationally would want to see? When you see the reports that are coming out that tell you about what you might not be aware of that is happening in the system, how do you act on that?
Well, in the years that we have managed the program, we have evaluated it. Of course, we have picked up instances where things are not going according to plan, and that is through our monitoring as well. And in that monitoring, we would then put improvement plans, and those improvement plans speak directly to the school that has been affected. For example, it speaks to the provincial education department that has been identified in that instance. And I think it is in a way that the national department even took a decision. It took a responsibility in terms of changing the model, because that was the intention, to minimize the inefficiencies in the two delivery models, but also it was also to maximize on the economies of scale, because we could see that the government is losing quite a lot in terms of the amounts that have been charged, in terms of the costing of just food prices, in terms of the delivery cost, in terms of the middlemen that we would then have to cover in terms of the delivery of the food supplies. And the inefficiencies that we could pick up from those two delivery models, in a way, we had to come up with something that the national department will then take charge of, and without actually, excluding the provincial education departments. And right now, this is a process that we are undergoing right now in terms of making sure that we consult as widely as we can in terms of finding the best model that we can implement.
So basically then, what you've acknowledged, Ms. Siditi, is the fact that you as the department, you yourselves have had reason to be concerned with how the project is being implemented in some parts of the country, especially when it comes to the costs that are associated with different items that need to be delivered. Now, in identifying that, how far did you go in trying to understand, but what is actually driving this? So if you have an individual, a contractor that has been given work to deliver at a particular price point, but you look at the numbers and you say, but it doesn't make sense. How could they be charging this much for delivery, as you've said? How could they be charging this much for the foodstuffs? What did you do in those particular instances where you uncovered those inefficiencies and were not satisfied? So beyond dealing with it at a broad scale to say this is a problem and we need an intervention nationally. How did the accountability filter down from national government to the province, right through to the potential to the supplier in understanding these inefficiencies?
Well, at the moment like I've indicated, we have embarked on actually making consultations and looking at, item per item as to how much they cost in terms of the pricing, as well as comparing, making comparisons from province to province. And this is a task that we have undertaken right now to say that we need to go deeper into the program in terms of even the food pricing. And we also need to, look into other matters of efficiency. Like
so we currently don't have that. Is there no broad spec that says if you are, procuring services from a service provider? So let me give an example of what happened under COVID-19. Under COVID-19, when government was on a procurement drive for the masks, they capped the price point of a mask. So there was only so much that service providers would be able to get when it comes to providing masks. Are you saying that currently, with the school nutrition program, there is no spec at a national level that is a clear guide to any procurement taking place to say, you won't pay more than this for a can of beans. You won't pay more than this for delivery.
We actually have a limited budget. So we actually cost per learner at R3.84 for primary, as well as R4 for secondary schools. So there is a set, pricing, if I may call it that way, in terms of a cost per unit. So we don't actually cost per item. All I was saying is that in terms of our general evaluation of the program, in terms of food pricing, we thought that, having to go within the route of having to have a national need, we could perhaps maximize on economies of scale, because at that level, we will be able to have bidders that will actually give us tons of maize meal, for example, at the manufacturer's cost per unit, instead of us having to go to retail. So that was the purpose of the bid. That was the purpose of having to review the model. So it is not per food item that provinces. So if a bidder, a supplier, actually takes the food basket, and the food basket will have all the variety of food items, in terms of the menus that we provide at school. So that R3.84 will actually have to cover for the starch, the fruit and vegetables, and the protein.
All right. So, Ms. Siditi, I'm going to ask you to pause it there. We're going to continue with the conversation shortly.
Something big is coming. 6:30 will never be the same. Amalanga Wafani, only on SABC 1.
These are the weekend shows on SAFM. Music of Africa with Shayla Ndikumana. The Jet Set Breakfast with Michelle Constant. Seasons with Khomotso KG Mweketsi. The soundtrack of your life with Ernest Pillay. Weekend Soundowner Classics with Kutlwano Masote. Spotlight with Zai Khan. The Weekend with John Kherika. Rhythm of Africa with Shayla Ndikumana. This is SAFM. #SAFM Talking Point.
Your guest, by her own admission, is quoting a process that she's not even sure is still in place. The accusation is that they haven't followed due process. Her response should be, if there's a concern, I'm going to investigate and I will come back to you and I will make sure that due process has been followed. Not give us the process, which is the accusation is the process is not being followed.
Good morning, Cathy. It's Fred the Trucker. Cathy, we have got a serious problem in this country of, indaba this, indaba that, consultation there. We already know we have got a problem. Children are dying of malnutrition. Mike from Newlands always raises this point. Children are dying of malnutrition in Eastern Cape. But these guys, they keep discussing issues. Just like that mayor and his city manager in Matatiele, who spent R1 million just on consulting and meetings. Aye, man.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
Let me take Butana in Rosebank. Butana, good morning.
Hey, my sister, good morning to your guest. You will never resolve a problem of rampant thieving as long as the ANC is there. It is not a priority to the ANC. And you cannot shame the shameless. They don't care. They don't care. It is heartbreaking, even destroying the kids, the future generation of this country. They don't care. Not even a single crook is in jail. Stealing from the poor. They is persistent. As long as they are there, they'll deploy crooks and thieves in government. They can't even deal with them. Even in legislature, they deployed people that are accused of their sins. Read the Zondo report. They do nothing about it. Nothing.
Okay.
Absolute nothing.
Butana and Rosebank, let's leave it there. Sfiso, let me give you a chance to come in and perhaps reflect on what Ms. Siditi has said very briefly, please.
Thank you so much. I will repeat this. There is no due diligence in any way, because in other departments nationally, you find that one company is blacklisted in another province, but is able to be awarded a tender in another province. For instance, in Limpopo, you get blacklisted, but you are able to access or rather awarded the tender in Mpumalanga. That's what I know. It's been happening, and we've got a proof of that. I can make an example of treatment in school. Treatment in hospitals in Mpumalanga. That company that had been awarded that work had been blacklisted in Limpopo, but what got awarded a tender in Mpumalanga. Number two, I would appreciate it if there will be surprise inspections in schools. There's no such to see the quality of food that is given to kids, because you find that kids are only given a fruit once per week, in most schools. And if you are lucky, you do get it just that once per week. Other schools don't get even a fruit. So if you provide such, nutrition in schools, you say it's nutrition, but you find that it's not nutrition. It's not nutritious. It doesn't provide what it needs to provide to a child. Yeah.
All right, Sfiso. Lisa?
What I'd like to say is that officials are supposed to act as custodians of public goods, right? But instead they continue looting public funds. I want to give you one very quick example. This tender was taken to court last year, right? And there was a court order in place that all the contracts had to be terminated on the 28th of February this year. So what the department did was they re-advertised the tender. They then awarded the bid, and then they invited bidders to come in. So on the 28th of March, at 15:55, they sent out an email to bidders and asked them to come in on the 3rd of March and to sign the award letters. When the bidders went in to sign the award letters, they then asked them to backdate it to the 28th of March because that's what the court order stipulated. But then they went on to extend okay, the contract to the bidders that were already supplying by an additional month, which is a violation of the court order that was already in place. This will tell you that acting with impunity, complete disregard for the law, let alone the processes that are in place that they are tasked with doing.
And to the extent that the National Department says there's very little it can do because it doesn't run that process, Lisa, your quick response to that?
My quick response to that is this feigned ignorance and this apathy has to stop. You are sitting at a national level. It is your responsibility to know what is happening on a regional level. So don't give us that absolute ridiculous excuse. Okay, there's a, for us, our highest authority is our Constitution. And in our Constitution, I just want to give you the excerpt from 217. Section 217 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa requires that when an organ of state contracts for goods and services, it must do so in accordance with principles of fairness, equitability, transparency, competitiveness, and cost effectiveness. This applies to organs of state in national, provincial, or local sphere of government, or any other institution identified in national legislation.
Okay.
So if people sitting at national level think that they can say, I don't know, I'm sorry. Our Constitution is very, very clear. You are custodians of that.
All
so
right.
do your job.
Lisa, let's leave it there. One message coming through from our listeners who's emphasizing the point around the department needing to understand what is happening at a school level too, in as far as the delivery models are concerned. He says last month a school principal was killed because he terminated the contract of a supplier due to poor service. The man at Nongoma Mlokotwa High is the person that was killed, Mr. Kumalo. And as he's saying there, the allegations are that his life was taken because of a decision he made around contracts. The evidence in terms of the corruption, it speaks for itself. You just have to go online and so much will come up. The question is, why does it seem that there's so much that the department is unaware of? And then, of course, they only act if you directly lay a complaint with them. It's 11 o'clock, time for your latest news. Thank you to all our guests for their participation in that conversation.
In our top stories, government to introduce licensing system for water service providers and Zanzu nightclub assault suspect to apply for bail. Good morning. Government says it's introducing a new license which will allow water entities to outsource the bolstering of water and sanitation services to private contractors. It made the announcement at the National Water and Sanitation Indaba at the Gallagher Convention Centre in Midrand in Johannesburg. The aim of the Indaba is to highlight government's commitment to tackling South Africa's water security challenges. Deputy President Paul Mashatile will officially close the two-day Indaba, which President Cyril Ramaphosa opened yesterday. Water and Sanitation Deputy Minister Sello Setlolo.
We're introducing a license system to say that where a water services authority is able to appoint a capable licensed water services provider. In this instance, we can make the example, for example, of Rand Water. For example, you can bring in a private sector, but somebody that will be able to fundamentally deal with the issue of water provision as well as sanitation. And the ring-fencing, which has been a key word, and we would have also seen from DG Dr. Sean Phillips' presentation, the key word that is being ring-fencing, revenue that is generated from the sale of water services back into the water and sanitation infrastructure.
Lobby group AfriForum says that it will push for Afrikaners, farmers and other minority groups to protect themselves within the confines of the law. This found quality courts that the Kill the Boer song does not constitute hate speech. AfriForum CEO Kali Kriel has described yesterday's judgment as shocking.
We are seeing a radicalization in the interpretation of the Constitution. We see more and more ideologically driven judges. This together with the fact that the presidency as well as the government refuses to condemn these slogans that calls for the killing of Afrikaners, means that we are on our own. If we are not going to be protected, Afrikaners and farmers and minority communities should protect themselves within the framework of the law. We already have 177 neighborhood and farm watches. We will expand that, make it stronger.
A 41-year-old man accused of involvement in the Zanzu nightclub attack is expected back in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning to apply for bail. The man, who's a Congolese national, was arrested last month. This after a video showing him and 7 other men sexually assaulting and beating customers went viral on social media. The accused is facing 6 charges of assault and 8 of sexual assault. Earlier this month, the case was postponed to allow for an identity parade. Black Consciousness Movement leader Steve Biko's widow has welcomed the gesture of Rhodes University in the Eastern Cape to confer an honorary degree on her. The university has recognized Nontsikelelo Biko for her contribution to community development. She says she's humbled.
The Rhodes University decided to come and do it at the Steve Biko Center as well. So which meant that at least they appreciate this. I also appreciate them.
And finally, surgeons in Britain say the switch from cash to card payments may have made an unintended benefit. They've highlighted a fall in the number of children needing operations to remove swatted coins. The BBC's Michelle Roberts has the details.
The analysis published in the Annals of the Royal College of Surgeons of England journal found far fewer children were now needing hospital procedures to remove objects from their throats, noses and airways. The study looked for objects removed from babies and children aged up to 14 in NHS data from 2000 to 2022 and saw a decline that began in around 2012, which, according to the UK Payments Market Survey, is when cards began overtaking cash payments. In the past, coins have accounted for more than 75% of swallowed foreign bodies in children under the age of 6.
Recapping the top story, government says it's introducing a new license which will allow water entities to outsource the bolstering of water and sanitation services to private contractors. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. Your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
Whether we are at the workplace, within communities, at school, or with our friends and family, we all need to demonstrate the kind of responsibility that we would like to see in our country's future. SAFM commemorates Human Rights Month.
Masandawana have a master plan to win in their own backyard, to ease off the pressure before the trip to the north. But the Beast of Africa want to demonstrate why they are also called the Smiling One. This is the first leg quarterfinal battle of the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Do not miss out on the delight of African football. Mamelodi Sundowns versus Esperance de Tunis on Tuesday, 1 April at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
Hi, I'm Khomotso Cathy Mohlahlana, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, with me, KG Mohlahlana.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
Well, it is the Friday Wind Down, and our guest today is Gemma Fassi. I'm telling you, she's walked into the studio like a little ray of sunshine. And I use my words very intentionally there. Gemma, good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming through to our studio.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
The first question I asked her is, Gemma, how old are you? Because she looks 12. So
that's a compliment. Thank you.
So, you, of course, are a young person in the music industry.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about just your experience because and experience not in terms of words, in terms of years, but experience just in terms of what the journey has been like for you coming into this industry, still quite young. She says she's 25. So was it 25 or 23?
Yes,
25. So, she's still quite young. But what has the experience coming into this industry been?
I mean, I'd like to say that I've only been doing it as full time for the past 2 years. And I think many people that know me know that this has been my life since high school. But I think in Joburg it's definitely a different ball game. But in Cape Town, my people know me, and I've been doing it for such a long time that I've grown into being such a different person, different woman. And it's been interesting just to learn different parts of me and explore that.
Let's talk about the journey then from high school, because at least it's not that long ago for you. You can
Yes.
you remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
What drew you to music?
Wow. My mom and my brother, just my whole household. My upbringing was very musical. My family was in the worship team. I was in the children's church. Like, it was always music. My mom would go to choir, and she would sometimes take us to rehearsals with us. So it was always there. I don't think I was drawn to music. Music just was drawn to me. Like, it's followed me my whole life.
Also because this won't be too far back for you to dig in. What was your favorite Sunday school song?
Oh, wow. It was the Hillsong's kids one. One way, Jesus, you're the only one that I could live for. Yeah, that one. That's my favorite.
I know that one as well. So you then, of course, are going through high school. At a particular point, once we are either still in high school or just about to exit, we have to make decisions about which direction we want the course of our lives to take. And the conversation then is usually about higher education and what are you going to study. As somebody who already then had an idea about the fact that they wanted to do music, what did you decide to do when you were done with high school?
To be honest, I did not want to do music full time. It was never something that I was like, you know what, I'm going to be an artist and everyone's going to know my music and I want to perform everywhere. That was never my goal per se. I think, like I said, music has followed me my whole life. When I finished high school, I took a gap year and I just decided to just figure out if I want to do this. And that was, my mom was like, okay, you can take this year to figure out if you want to do music, if you want to go study. And after that, in 2019, I then went to Greece for 8 months. And I did a contract there where I was performing at different hotels and on an island every night. And that really made me realize wait, I like this, And then after that, I was like, no, I wasn't that confident in myself yet, so I just went back to teaching. I studied teaching for a bit. I did a course to do the teaching online, and I did that. And then while I'm teaching, in my room, in the office, and we'd teach the lessons, and every time, on a break or whatever, I would just be like, but this is not what I really want to do. I don't want to be cooped up in this room. Let me write something. And that's when I was like, let's just take it from here, and that's how it started.
And what were you teaching?
English.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Your mom must really think that you've got a good head on your shoulders, because to trust a 19, 20-year-old in a foreign country, singing and entertaining people for 8 months, that says a lot about you and just how you handle yourself as a young woman.
Thank you. I mean, I like to think I grew up with a single mom. It was just my brother and myself. And my mom is really such an independent woman that as time went by, I learned so much from her. I take my hat off to my mom. She's so strong. And I think I've carried a lot of those characteristics and those values with me wherever I go. And that's why I was able to leave. At the airport, I was like, bye. She was like, why are you not crying? You're a kid. I was like, no, I'm excited to leave. Spread my wings. I've always been an adventurous person, independent person. So,
so you get to Greece, and how do you find the environment? How are you able to also do what you have to do. Being a young person, we know sometimes the challenge is everybody seems to have more of a voice than you do in everything that you're doing. So speak to me about just now living that dream. But of course, it's in a foreign country and everything is new.
Everything was new. Because I'm such a goal-driven young woman, I'd like to think so. I even had a second job where I was like looking after kids during the day. So at night we'd perform, and then during the day I would work with the kids, and working with different kids of all over the world, like different languages. Like that language barrier forced me to like learn a language in a month, and I can now not speak but understand, and also reply back like the normal things in so many different languages. And I think from that experience, it just made me realize, like, man, this is where I need to be.
You clearly also have a heart for children. Hey?
I do. I love kids.
You see,
not my own though. But I would return them.
And doesn't she just look like the perfect Sunday school teacher?
And I used to be.
Our Friday Wind Down guest is Gemma Fassi, and she, of course, is a rising star out of Cape Town. But it sounds like she's in between these days if she hasn't relocated to Johannesburg yet. We'll find out a bit more about her journey, but also, of course, bring you her music on the Friday Wind Down.
Mzansi, the Powerball jackpot storm guaranteed at 81 million rand this Friday is your chance to make it rain lots of cash this March. Don't delay. Play Powerball for the guaranteed 81 million rand jackpot today, and you could win big. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
SASSA Gold Card beneficiaries can still come and collect their new Postbank Black Card. Avoid the risk of not receiving your grant. Join over 1.3 million beneficiaries that are already conveniently receiving their grant using the Postbank Black Card. There are multiple selected outlets nationwide where you can swap your SASSA Gold Card for the new Postbank Black Card. Dial *120 *355#. That's *120 *355# to find one near you. Standard rates apply. Postbank, your bank.
The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
We're continuing the Friday Wind Down with Gemma Fassi. As I said earlier, really a rising star coming out of Cape Town. And she's got a unique, or at least what has been described as a unique sonic identity. And her music has resonated with audiences worldwide. Speak to me about your sound, because it is a very international sound, but I think very much in line with what young people your age are doing now. What inspires you? Who are the artists that have inspired you that you look up to?
My sound, wow. I think I'm a genre fluid artist, and I when I say that, I don't say it like lightheartedly, because I really try to bring so many different influences and so many different backgrounds of different artists into like one sound. And I think this EP, Island 22, is really like a stamp on that, to say that, like I can do everything, like, but let me show you guys this side of me. I think R&B and Afro have really been like an outlet for me. Like it's helped me like find my sound and help me express myself in the best way. And I think the people that I look up to in that genre is Thames, Iris Star, like even Tyler, like her Afro wave, and that's also just been like, you know what, actually people like Afro, and that's the next thing after R&B is like adding that drums, and I think that drums just makes the R&B a little better for me.
Did your time in Greece influence your sound, and how did it influence it? Because you're singing to audiences real time. You're getting a sense of what people like, what they don't like. Greece, of course, is a very popular holiday destination. So you get different flavors of people from all over the world that you interact with. And there are probably some songs that you start singing, and it's not that you're singing it badly, but people are just like, okay, can we get to the next one already?
So for me, I don't think necessarily Greece influenced my sound per se. I think it influenced how I grew as a woman, because going there, I really didn't know what to expect. I wasn't really like a good performer, and I think that pushed me to be better and try, and the vocal ability to try and like be better at performing and singing on the spot, like just in embracing like who I am as an artist. And I think maybe it did influence it a little bit, actually, like because most of the songs like September and My Place, I always envision myself on the island, like just sipping cocktails on the beach, like, you know, and it was so nice. So I always go back to that moment to relive and write songs based off those experiences.
When you released your debut single, Best Life, what were you hoping you were going to achieve with that debut?
I wrote that song in Greece on the beach chair with my headphones in, my notepad. With that song, it was just like, I just want people to vibe. Like, I was living my best life, and I think that was the first time I learned to express myself through song and lyric.
Up next, we're going to be queuing up No More.
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to know about No More?
Wow. 2024 was 2020 more. 2025, we're thriving this year. So we're not taking any more like drama, no negative energy. Like, keep it over there. That's what I want people to know, that like this song is for you if you realizing that, yo, I'm not going back to being sad, or I'm not going back to that person. No, you know, no more. I can't take it. So I'm gonna keep that energy for myself.
I can't afford to lose it all to you again. Maybe the timing just ain't right anymore. We used to be so in love, lost track of time. I thought you were everything I've been looking for. Caught up in my head, we've been here before. Nearly found my way out. Tell me why. Does it hurt? 'Cause baby, I can't take this no more. Baby, I wanna know. Maybe I needed more from you. Feel like I'm wasting my time being too emotional. Don't tell me that you're trying. I've heard this all before. Like the first time you started loving up on me, calling me darling. No, that don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing. No, that don't mean nothing. No, that don't mean nothing. Caught up in my head, we've been here before. Nearly found my way out. Tell me why. Does it hurt? 'Cause baby, I can't take this no more.
The South African government has implemented economic reforms to address challenges in energy, logistics, and the visa regime. State-owned entities like Eskom and Transnet are driving economic growth and job creation. Working with business, government has managed to transform energy supply, enabling private investment in electricity generation. We have had more than 200 days with no load shedding, enabling our economy to grow. Transnet has reduced port congestion, allowing South Africa to benefit from the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, building and transforming the economy. A message brought to you by Government Communications.
Hi, my name is Kutlwana Masote, your host of Weekend Sundowner Classics every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. exclusively on SAFM. Now, this is where you get your best classical music jams on any radio platform. Join me every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between 4 and 7 p.m. Weekend Sundowner Classics.
Hi, I'm Cathy Mohlahlana, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons, right here on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, with me, KG Mohlahlana.
All right, we continue the conversation on the Friday Wind Down. Our guest this Friday is young Gemma Fassi. We're going to continue finding out more about her journey in the industry shortly. For now, it's 11:30. Time for your latest news headlines.
Good morning. In the headlines, 9 people have been arrested in connection with the robberies that took place in the Bloemfontein CBD. The arrests came after 2 videos depicting 2 separate robberies went viral on social media. Government says it's introducing a new license which will allow water entities to outsource the bolstering of water and sanitation services to private contractors. And several buildings have collapsed after a powerful earthquake struck the city of Mandalay in central Myanmar. Strong tremors have extended to Thailand and China. I'll have details on these and other stories at 12.
SASSA Gold Card beneficiaries can still come and collect their new Postbank Black Card. Avoid the risk of not receiving your grant. Join over 1.3 million beneficiaries that are already conveniently receiving their grant using the Postbank Black Card. There are multiple selected outlets nationwide where you can swap your SASSA Gold Card for the new Postbank Black Card. Dial *120 *355# to find one near you. Standard rates apply. Postbank, your bank.
The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. Gemma Fassi is our guest today. So, Gemma, there's the obvious, of course, that and then there's the not so obvious. So immediately when one sees your surname, we ask ourselves, Fassi, is this the Fassi that we know? And I think I can speak on most South Africans here because it is written and spelt exactly the same way that Brenda Fassi is spelt, right? But then, of course, one looks at you and there is this striking and uncanny resemblance to Brenda Fassi, one of the icons of music in this country for decades on decades on decades.
Forever.
So please bring us into the picture. Where does this Fassi surname come from and what is your connection with this surname?
Well, actually, quite interestingly enough, I only came to realize how big this is that I'm taking on this name. But Brenda is related to, well, I'm related to Brenda through my grandfather, who is Brenda's sister. And yeah, Bongani is my uncle. The family tree is crazy. When I found out, and obviously I didn't really know much about her because we didn't really, connect like that. But because I was still very young when she passed on. But, the older I got and the more I watched videos, I was like, this lady looks like me. That is so weird. I've never met her before. And then I think as time went by, I realized this is such a heavy name to carry. And I'm excited to see what it brings, man.
So you didn't know that your Fassi was part of the Brenda Fassi family tree?
No, I did know.
Yeah.
I did know, but the Fassi family, we didn't really speak that much. Only after, I think, a certain period of time, and then I got introduced to them. And that was when Brenda was already passed away. I think I was 10, 12 when I met everyone else, Bongani and everyone.
Sure.
So that's when I was like, okay, wait. I remember I even only found out Bongani was my uncle maybe 3 years ago, because I was like, oh, you the guy that was Jabulani, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh my goodness. Then I went back and I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Wow.
So it was very I only found out as time went by, and I think the people older than me who also told me Gemma, take this name and run with it, because not only do you look like it's not even only that, but I think you have a legacy to carry, and I think you are the right person to do it. And my brother's doing it as well. There's still Bongani, the Fassis are still there, yeah.
Sure. That is, what a story, hey? What an absolute story. And so before you got to understand the full connection there, had you already started to experience people telling you that you look like her? Is that, or did that happen later on in life? Because our faces evolve quite a lot as we grow up.
Yeah, I don't think when I was younger, no, I knew I was related to the Fassi family, but I didn't know how big it was. I was in the Kalo community. I guess we listened to Brenda, but it wasn't Brenda was playing like that, or maybe in my experience of it, But I think as time went by and the older I got, the more I grew into my face, I started looking like Brenda more. And my mom even now tells me she denies it, but she's I can see it too, because I also look like my mom. But I think as time went by, I grew into it. And when I grew up, I didn't really tell people I was related to her, because I didn't really feel like I needed to. Yeah.
So you talked earlier about the experience of being in Johannesburg and how different that is from Cape Town. So I made a deduction that you are in transition. You're thinking about, where does one need to be in order to make this music thing work? Talk to us a little bit about that.
In 2021, yes, a girl named Tabanyaba, she had a talent show, and she invited me to Joburg after we did the competition and the videos. And then I came here for maybe one night. She flew me out, and it was a award ceremony of a talent show, and I met so many people there. Costa, I met Musli, I met everyone in that small little circle, and it was so cool. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I also met the friends that I call my brothers now. I met them there as well. And then as time went by, I kept on coming here in 2021, 22 for a month, any break I got. And then 2023, I was like, you know what? I might as well just come here. So I've been here for the past 2 years, just finding my feet.
How different is it from the Cape Town experience?
Oh, there's no ocean. There's no ocean, so very different.
You know what? I fell into that one, right? I was really asking for it, wasn't I? Well, okay.
More than that, I think the industry is very different here. I think people are more receptive. They're more open to trying new things. In Cape Town, I think people are so focused on 9 to 5s, because life is crazy out there. But and I think here people come from all parts of South Africa to Joburg to work, and I think that hustle mentality is what kept me here.
In terms of breaking into the industry, of course, this month you have a new project that is coming out that I'm sure you want to tell us.
It dropped midnight.
Oh, has it dropped already? Oh my gosh. The producers do this to me all the time.
Surprise!
No, it's not fair. It's not fair. You know what, the other day, so they say this EP is dropping later this month, right? Meanwhile, we played the song on the day that it dropped. And so you guys are constantly throwing me under the bus. I man, do better. Kanya level. You do better, man. So tell us more about the EP. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I thought it was only coming out later.
I think when they sent out the email, that's when it said later this month.
Yeah, but they must update they must update their information.
But nevertheless, I think Island 22, man. That I think, like last night I had my listening session, and I think that's when I realized, okay, this people are actually listening. This is it. Like, Island 22 is just about love and moving on from love, even if it's just yourself, like finding yourself. It doesn't necessarily need to be about love. Like, it could be loving yourself, loving someone else, loving a family member, and creating that world of it, like a safe space island, like an island around yourself to just be free and express yourself.
During the break, we were talking about just how brave your generation is, Gemma. There's just a fire that you guys have to make things happen for yourselves, despite all of these, different challenges that you might face. And your story, I think, encapsulates a lot of that. So when you think about the future and what you want your journey in this industry to be, what are the things that you dream of? And when you think about what success looks like in this industry, what would you say it is?
Wow. Recently, I don't think success is defined by money. I think nowadays I don't think success is defined by money per se. I think my perspective of success has really changed. I used to think that if I have a lot of money, like I'm successful. When I have a lot of money, that's when I'm really successful. But now I realize it's more about the people around you, and it's more about like just the healing you need to go through. And I think what I want to achieve in this music industry is really just to create more spaces for women. Like, being in this industry, I've realized there's so many males, and to a point where, like, when I get the question, like, who are the female artists that you'd like to collaborate with, the only people that come to my head is always males, and I would like to know more females. I'd like for us to feel comfortable in all spaces, for, like, any space to do anything, to create, to engineer, to produce, to just like be free in being a female in any space. And I think I want to create that. Hopefully I can do that.
And that also touches on a difference of approach that at least, I can say we've seen with the artists that come on the Friday Wind Down, especially the younger artists. They're more clear about the fact that this is what I want my identity to be, and I'm not compromising it for anyone. I'd rather go independent because there's so much more of an understanding of the industry and the challenges that perhaps people before you guys have gone through and they felt disempowered to stand up against. There's a lot more empowerment and knowledge for you guys.
I think shout out social media. Like, I think we learn so much on social media because we spend most of our days, most of our time on social media. And I think with that, we've had access to realize that we all go through the same things, especially as women in the industry. And I think social media has helped us learn so many things about the music industry, because you can't study music. You can't study this thing that's called the talent and the craft and performing and the brand, and there's so many. Now that I'm dropping the EP, I'm like, yo, wait, I was not ready for all these components. I thought it was just the music when I'm in studio, but now I'm like, okay, after that, now I need to package this. And working with Msaki, with Alt Black, they've really helped me realize, and Msaki with her mentorship, she's also helped me to realize that there's beauty in packaging a product. After you've expressed your feelings onto a song, you now have to, these are your feelings, but you want people to relate, so you need to be able to make that tangible for people outside of the music as well, so they can feel it, they can walk away with something.
Sounds like a journey of learning and growing.
It has been.
So where and how can people get in touch with you? Because we're getting ready to wrap our conversation up.
You can find me on each and every streaming platform. Gemma Fussy is the name, Gemma. Don't forget it. Please go and stream Island 22. It's out right now. My favorite song is My Place. Please go let me know how you feel, which song's your favorites. And yeah, thank you so much, Cathy. Thank you so much to everyone and the listeners.
Thank you so much for coming into studio. Somebody who really has those nuggets of wisdom, and I think a lot more mature for your age. Eh? A lot more mature for your age.
Thank you. I've been told that I have an old soul like my whole life. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Old soul, old resemblances, all of these things must be investigated, right?
Reincarnated. I've heard that before.
Gemma, it's been such a pleasure being in conversation with you on the Friday Wind Down. We are going to be wrapping it up with What You Want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to speak about that song, but maybe before you do. So after the song, we're going to go straight into the book reading. So I guess this is the last time you'll be hearing my voice on the radio for today. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. And of course, we'll be back Monday between 9 and midday. So Gemma, tell us more. What You Want.
What You Want is an R&B record that I just love. Produced by Yoshi, co-written by Risa. This song just came out of pure joy and excitement to be in the music industry, and this was the first song that I did when I came to Joburg, when I landed. And yeah, I love this song. R&B has been my baby since, I've came into this music industry, and I just thought, let me go back to the 90s, even though I was only there for a little bit, but let me go back, and this is What You Want. Yeah.
I stay 'cause I thought you would change. You gotta tell me what you want. If our love was true to you, baby, tell me what you want. If our love is true to you, boy, you gotta tell me what you want. I've been waiting for so long. Damn, baby, you did me so wrong. Got me bleeding in slow-mo. There's reasoning to ride so low. So now you know just what I like. You gotta tell me what you want, 'cause you're running out of time. Early hours of the morning, alarm bells ringing in my head. Hearing all his voices talking, pulling my soul right through my bed. Straight into the water, fighting, drowning. Got me crying for dear life, 'cause I can't let go.
The book reading. Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAFM presents another episode of the book The Thing with Zola by Zibu Sitole, read by Lerato Mvelase.
Mbali sat in the car for a moment and watched her walk through the gate. Then he drove off, revving the engine as he passed a group of guys sitting on the street corner, watching him. I don't know how you lived in Germany all those years, but in my house, we locked the gate at 7. Her mother shouted as she led Zola back into the house. Mama, I'm not a child. Zola shouted back, both irritated and embarrassed. What on earth would Mbali think? Now you are going to shout at me in my house, my own house, Nomsebenzi shrieked. Mama, don't shout, Zola said, lowering her voice. I was just outside. Nomsebenzi grabbed a glass and filled it with water, her hands shaking. Mali Potter sent me a message telling me you were in some sugar daddy's car doing God knows what, she said, gulping down the water and nearly choking in the process. Zola put down her bag and turned to hide a burgeoning smile. Ma, you know Mali Potter makes things up. Mbali just gave me a lift home. Didn't Tobile tell you that Oguhle asked me to help her with some work today? Nomsebenzi put her hands on her hips and turned sternly towards her eldest daughter. Zola, I don't care what you were doing. The gates at my house are locked at 7. She walked past Zola without another word and slammed her bedroom door. Covering her mouth to stifle her laughter, Zola crept into her bedroom and threw herself back on her bed. It gave a small bounce. So? Tobile giggled, peeking out from under her blankets. So what? Zola asked, changing into her pajamas. So Gunther doesn't answer your calls and then suddenly you're outside in some fancy car with Mbali Tabete doing God knows what. Tell me, Tobile demanded. He just gave me a lift. To her younger sister, the laughter in Zola's voice suggested there could be more to it. Now sleep. Still laughing to herself, Zola lay back in her bed, taking it all in. The nosy neighbor and her mother's tantrum about the gate. It was too much not to share. She pulled her phone from her pocket and found a text from Mbali. Your mom looked pissed. Zola giggled. The text has set off a swarm of butterflies in her tummy. She typed, Now I have some gossip for you. Well, about you from my neighbor. Zola felt like her lungs had somehow expanded. No matter how deeply she breathed, it wasn't enough to keep her from feeling like her head was spinning. Talking to Mbali had felt good, and she wanted to keep feeling this way. She lay in bed, anxiously checking her phone for a reply. Nothing came, and Zola drifted off to sleep with her phone in her hand. When she woke up in the morning to the sound of her mother's vengeful clattering of pots and pans in the kitchen, there was still no reply from Mbali. Just 2 blue ticks next to her message. Read, no response. Zola groaned and stretched out under the covers, ignoring her mother's passive-aggressive insistence to no one in particular that they had needed to get up and go to church. Tobile jumped out of bed and immediately started complaining about having schoolwork to do, a test on Monday and countless other things. She couldn't go to church. That left Zola. Since Zola had come home from Germany, her mother had been trying to adjust and had for the most part left her to do her own thing. But after the drama about locking the gate from the previous night, Zola knew the honeymoon period was over. Good morning, Zola said, walking past her mother and her sister and heading for the bathroom, where she brushed her teeth, staring at herself in the mirror. Firm but respectful. Firm but respectful. She rehearsed before coming back to face her mother. Zola, I thought you were bathing. We're going to be late for church, and you know how much I hate that, Nomsebenzi said, putting a pot of marinated chicken into the fridge. Ma, I've had a rough week. I'm going to stay home today and rest up for work tomorrow, Zola said, swiftly moving back to her room so she didn't have to see Nomsebenzi's disappointment. Her phone flashed and she quickly grabbed it. It was just low battery. No calls, no texts, no word from Bali. She threw herself back onto the bed and scrolled through her phone. She quickly checked social media, flicking through the pictures of her friends back in Germany, until she saw a page suggestion for Oguhle Msimang. Interesting, Zola thought. This was for a personal page, not the carefully curated business pages she had seen before. Clicking through, Zola found that the page was not private and had some recent snaps of Oguhle in the recovery clinic. Zola scrolled through the pictures and stopped. There was Mbali. It was just the side of his face, but she recognized him immediately. It was taken with him in his car with a worried look on his face. Oguhle had captioned it, "My baby, so worried about me." Not her oldest friend, not someone who was like a brother to her, but baby, her baby, the same baby who had driven Zola all the way home and sat outside her house laughing about nothing. So Mbali was Oguhle's baby? Zola was angry and confused. Sure, he'd sent her flowers, brought her lunch to work, and seemed to be making some kind of mild advances. But was she reading too much into it? Maybe he was just being friendly. But also, why would he lie about being Oguhle's boyfriend? And now, sis? Tobile burst into the room. What do you want? Zola replied grouchily. Zola had never particularly liked sharing a room with her sister, but times like this made her hate it all the more. You've had Mum shaking since last night. What's going on with you? Zola sighed. I need my own place, she announced. Tobile rolled her eyes and started unpacking the laundry basket. Just one night living large and you're too good for this place, she mumbled. Seeing her normally perky sister looking so dejected, Zola suddenly felt guilty. She knew better than anyone how hard her mother had worked to make sure they had a good home. They'd never had to wonder if they'd have something to eat. They'd always had what they needed for school, and they'd never struggled with anything. Sorry, Tobile. I'm just a little stressed. Work stuff, Zola said. It was meant as an excuse, but now that she thought about it, she really was stressed about work. Seeing Oguhle in hospital and now knowing her lunch and conversations with Mbali were completely out of line. Whether or not she'd known it at the time, she had violated the girl code. When Zola's phone finally rang, she was in no hurry to answer it. Tobile tossed it towards her, glancing at the screen. It's Gunther. Zola briefly considered ignoring the call, but thought better of it. Hey, Gunther, she smiled. Hey, I waited for your call last night. Did you forget about me? No, sorry. I just got home kind of late, Zola said. I thought you might be busy or out. Oh, okay. There was an ominous silence. About what your friend said about helping me move to SA, Gunther said. Zola noticed he was speaking slower than usual. Something was up. I spoke to my mom about it, and I don't think it's a good idea. Chapter 18. Mama's Boy. Zola was quiet as Gunther's words settled. Zola? Gunther pressed. Are you still there? Yep, Zola said, sitting up in bed. Think about it. It really wouldn't work. I mean, I want to be with you and everything, but it works out better if we try to get you back home instead. There it was. Home. For 10 years, Zola had allowed herself to think of Germany as home, but she knew deeply that she already was home. South Africa wasn't Gunter's home, but it was hers. Her conversation with Tobile just minutes ago had made her realize just how much she had taken for granted.
That was another episode of the book The Thing with Zola, written by Zibu Sithole, read by Lerato Mvelase. The book is available online at www.penmacmillan.co.za and in all leading bookstores countrywide. It is broadcast on SAFM at 11:45 Monday to Thursdays on The Talking Point. It is produced for the station by Vovi Patala, read by Lerato Mvelase. Technical production, Wiseman Manmele, Nanda Koza, and Tato Mapuruma.
Hi, I'm Cathy Mohlahlana, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons, right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, with me, Cathy Mohlahlana.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
SAFM.
O'clock on Friday, the 28th of March, 2025. A very warm welcome to Updated Noon here on SAFM, leading the conversation. I'm Sakina Kamwendo. Coming up in the next hour, the Hawks have launched an investigation into the human trafficking syndicate responsible for luring South Africans abroad with fraudulent job offers, and a trial within a trial is underway as part of the trial of those accused of the 2024 kidnapping and human trafficking of Jocelyn Smith in Saldanha Bay. And coming up in sport,
no rest at the top. Sundowns in action today in the Nedbank Cup. There's also sevens on the go, and we're looking at some cricket news as well.
And of course, we always want to hear from you, so please get in touch, 41391. That's where you can send your SMSs. You can also write to us using our X account. Our handle is at SABC News_radio, or you can send us a WhatsApp voice note on 082-692-3909. Well, these and more stories coming up on this Friday edition of Updated Noon. First, though, let's bring you up to speed with the latest news. Here's Utsile Saku.
Thanks, Sakina. Top stories. Suspects arrested in connection with Bloemfontein CBD robberies, and government to introduce licensing system for water service providers. Good afternoon. 9 people have been arrested in connection with the robberies that took place in the Bloemfontein CBD in the Free State. The arrests came after 2 videos depicting 2 separate robberies went viral on social media. The robberies reportedly happened on Wednesday in broad daylight. One of the videos shows 5 men attacking occupants of a vehicle. A woman can be seen being violently pulled out of the vehicle. In the second video, a group of men is attacking a man in full view of the public. Police spokesperson Mahlomo Lakaredi has appealed to the victims in the video to come forward. The 9 suspects will appear in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court on Monday. Government says it's introducing a new license which will allow water entities to outsource the bolstering of water and sanitation services to private contractors. It made the announcement at the National Water and Sanitation Indaba at the Gallagher Convention Centre in Midrand, Johannesburg. The aim of the Indaba is to highlight government's commitment to tackling South Africa's water security challenges. Deputy President Paul Mashatile will officially close the two-day Indaba, which President Cyril Ramaphosa opened yesterday. Water and Sanitation Deputy Minister Sello Sitlolo.
We're introducing a license system to say that where a water services authority is able to appoint a capable licensed water services provider. In this instance, we can make the example, for example, of Rand Water. For example, you can bring in a private sector, but somebody that will be able to fundamentally deal with the issue of water provision as well as sanitation. And the ring-fencing, which has been a key word, and you would have also seen from DG Dr. Sean Phillips' presentation, the key word that is being ring-fencing, revenue that is generated from the sale of water services back into the water and sanitation infrastructure.
Lobby group AfriForum says it will push for Afrikaners, farmers and other minority groups to protect themselves within the confines of the law. This follows yesterday's Constitutional Court judgment, which dismissed AfriForum's bid to appeal the judgments of the Supreme and Equality Courts that the Kill the Boer song does not constitute hate speech. AfriForum CEO Kali Kriel has described yesterday's judgment as shocking.
We are seeing a radicalization in the interpretation of the Constitution. We see more and more ideologically driven judges. This, together with the fact that the presidency as well as the government refuses to condemn these slogans that calls for the killing of Afrikaners, means that we are on our own. If we are not going to be protected, Afrikaners and farmers and minority communities should protect themselves within the framework of the law. We already have 177 neighborhood and farm watches. We will expand that, make it stronger.
Further afield, several buildings have collapsed after a powerful earthquake struck the city of Mandalay in central Myanmar. Strong tremors have extended to Thailand and China. Witnesses have spoken of the destruction in the Myanmar's second largest city. The BBC's Celia Hatton has the details.
The quake was strong and shallow. The U.S. Geological Service said it had a magnitude of 7.7 and was just 10 kilometers deep. Its epicenter was near the Burmese city of Mandalay, home to more than 1 million people. There are few images from Myanmar so far. One appears to show a large bridge collapsed into the Irrawaddy River. There are also reports of roads buckling in the capital, Naypyidaw. The quake was so strong that it was felt in all parts of neighboring Thailand. Residents in the Thai capital, Bangkok, ran into the streets as buildings shook.
And finally, back home, national lottery operator Ituba is searching for a Northern Cape winner of 1 million rand. The person had bought a 15 rand daily lotto ticket in Okip near Springbok 2 weeks ago. Ituba spokesperson is Naledi Msibi.
On Friday, the 14th of March 2025, one lucky participant won the guaranteed 1 million rands daily lotto jackpot. The winning ticket was purchased in the small town of Okip in Northern Cape with a 15 rands ticket wager, and the winner has yet to come forward to claim their prize. Ituba, the national lottery operator, is urging participants from this town to please check their tickets and for the winner to come forward.
Recapping the top story, 9 people have been arrested in connection with the robberies that took place in the Bloemfontein CBD in the Free State. The arrests came after 2 videos depicting 2 separate robberies went viral on social media. For SFM News, I'm Utsile Saku, back with headlines at 12:30.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo.
Well, a very good afternoon. Thank you so much for being with us here on Update at Noon, and thanks Utile Saku. He'll be back with the news headlines at 12:30. And, I'm kind of distracted because I'm watching this earthquake that happened in Myanmar. I've got the television set on and just looking at some of the visuals that are currently coming up on one of the international news networks, and it is quite scary, 7.7 on the Richter scale. So that is obviously still a developing story. A very strong earthquake recorded there in Southeast Asia, and I'm sure more of those details will come through we'll also keep an eye on that. But getting back home, countless stories to bring you up to speed with, of course. The Competition Commission, they've released the Essential Food Price Monitoring report, and it indicates that although lower food inflation has been indicated, and this has brought about some respite in consumer costs, the relentless rise in food prices still poses a significant threat to food security. So we'll talk through that and, just get a sense of what it is that we're talking about and what we're dealing with as far as that food price inflation is concerned. And then the Hawks, they've launched an investigation into that human trafficking syndicate that I told you about yesterday that's responsible for the abduction and the recruitment of South Africans. In this instance, they were lured abroad to work under these promises of fraudulent jobs. But of course, DIRCO indicating that they will follow up on that. And you'll remember the 23 South Africans, they had accepted jobs from call center and hospitality jobs in Thailand, but ended up being trafficked to Myanmar. And then they were forced to scam people online while living under slave-like conditions. And they arrived home yesterday, and that earthquake happening there today. So, that was a lucky escape there. So, moving on, the South African Local Government Association, SALGA, saying that the construction mafia undermine projects which affect the infrastructure grant expenditure, leading to money being lost. And this was revealed at the Water and Sanitation Indaba. And so we'll try and catch up with them just to get further clarity on this and, of course, how it impacts on the provision of water to all South Africans. Then we have some court stories that we are watching as well. The investigating officer in the Jocelyn Smith trial, that's sitting in the Saldanha Bay High Court in the Western Cape. And Captain Wesley Lombard suggested that Jocelyn's mother, Kelly Smith, was involved in a prostitution ring around Saldanha. I spoke to the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, this morning, and I put to him what had come out of that trial regarding his involvement in interfering with the investigation, and to which he gave quite a firm and stern response. So we'll see if we can bring that for you. And also the corruption case against former Speaker of the National Assembly, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, in the High Court in Pretoria, and the former SAA board member, Yake Kwinana, that formal bail application for extortion continuing in the East London court, in the Magistrates Court there. So those are the stories that we're following up on. And don't forget, an update from the coalface with Martin Creamer.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
Now, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation has urged young unemployed South Africans to do thorough checks with DIRCO before accepting job offers overseas, especially if the offers sound too good to be true. Now, this comes after 23 young South Africans who accepted jobs which they were told would be in the hospitality sector and call centers in Thailand were trafficked to Myanmar, and they were forced to scam people while living under slave-like conditions. Now, a DIRCO spokesperson, Crispin Piri, joins us on the line for further details on this particular matter. Mr. Piri, thanks for your time. Welcome to Update at Noon.
Thank you for having me, Sakina, and good afternoon to our listeners.
So, quite a horrific story, this one, considering these 23 South Africans who had to essentially be rescued from Myanmar. But if we could perhaps just start by getting some background, Mr. Piri, of how they actually landed up there.
Yes, in fact, it's not necessarily just young people. It's a whole host of people of different ages who found themselves in Myanmar as a result of them acting on a advertisement which seemed to be very lucrative, promising them an exorbitant amount of money for a job in Thailand, where they would then be also given an all expenses paid trip to the United States. I mean, sorry, not to the United States, to Thailand to work there. It turns out that upon arrival, their passports were immediately seized from them, and they were put in essentially a compound that dealt with, or that was implicated in a number of scams across the world, scamming people, and they had to do this the whole day, 16 hours a day. They were then tasked with scamming other people across the world. They were treated in very inhumane conditions, Sakina. The reports show that they were forced to eat spoiled food. They were not given any rest. They were always under 24-hour surveillance. And really, it was just inhumane conditions.
Now, I understand, Mr. Phiri, that the Hawk saying, before I ask you about that, you said varying age groups. So are you able to tell us the range of those age groups?
I'm not able to yet, but our preliminary report does show that it's not just young people who fell victims to this, and other anecdotal reports show that there are adult males and people of all racial creeds who fall victim to these types of scams.
Fair enough. So, Mr. Phiri, the Hawks say that they are investigating local human trafficking syndicates. So, from your side as DIRCO, has there been any update in, exactly how these people got there? Was it one single entity that got them lured over, or were there several? Are you able to give us more details on that?
That would be the law enforcement element of this, where they would really drill down into the operations of the scam and how it works in South Africa and who its conduits are. So that's something that I think our law enforcement agencies can explain further. But from what we understand, it seems as though this scam really operates not just in South Africa but across the world, because there were 7,000 other people there from other countries, from different nations across the world. So really it does seem as though this is a worldwide pervasive scam.
Has DIRCO been in touch with your counterparts in Myanmar about this?
In Myanmar, of course, Sakina, you may know that we have a military junta in place.
Mm-hmm.
So that really makes it very difficult which we don't recognize. So that makes it very difficult for a number of countries, not just South Africa, to have formal relations with the military junta. So the parties that we interacted with, and they were incredibly useful and very good at helping us, was the Thai authorities. And that is so because we have a bilateral agreement on transnational organized crime with them, and also human trafficking. So this really was the protocol that enabled us to unlock this very, very successful repatriation.
So 23 South Africans have been repatriated, but is that the total number of South Africans that were there, or do you suspect that there may be more, Mr. Phiri?
We do suspect that there may be more in different camps, not necessarily in this camp. It seems like there are a number of camps in Myanmar, and we are still working on tracing that element. There were 32 South African nationals who were at this particular camp. No, it's in Myanmar as we understand it. The other two we're still trying to trace, firstly verify if they're South African and which camps they're in. But the other 7 managed to escape and get back to South Africa on their own steam. These 23 were the ones that we were able to repatriate, who were not able to break out in any way.
So perhaps as we end this, a word of advice to South Africans seeking employment abroad. How can DIRCO assist to try and facilitate that this is done safely?
We have 2 pieces of advice, not just for an individual seeking employment abroad, but even just traveling abroad. I think we need to be a lot more cautious about it.